Welcome to this video lecture. We're going to keep talking about building a dashboard, a data dashboard in Power BI. We've been working with this example of auto sales. So far we've been able to plot the auto sales by time. We've looked at whether it's on a weekday or a weekend, and we've noticed some trends there. We haven't done anything so far. We're looking at prices of these vehicles and how that impacts the revenue that we're making. So I'm going to go just preview our data table again. Recall we pulled in this CSV file. Again, you can download this data file that we started with by looking in the video description below. Today we're specifically going to cover bringing in data from another table, so from other sources, and combining this data in meaningful ways. So I have prepared another data set, which is also linked below. I'm going to import that data set. I'm going to go here to Get Data and select text. This is another CSV file. This is this CSV file called Sales Prices. So I'm going to import this other data set. So this data set tells us that the prices of different vehicles, so a car is $30,000 if it's on a weekday, and it's $32,000 if it's on a weekend. I don't think car dealerships really do this, but we're just showing an example. If they were to adapt their pricing, whether it's a weekend or a weekday, these are the different sales that they're making. So a 0 indicates that it's a weekday, a 1 indicates that it's a weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and load this data into here. So notice as we pull this data in, it takes a minute for it to update. Notice this gives me now another data drop-down menu here with these new data sources, so car, SUV, van, truck, and whether it's a weekend or not. So what we want to do is we want to be able to look up, we want to calculate the total revenue for car sales by matching up how many cars we've sold with the price, and whether this is happening with the weekday price or the weekend price. So I'm also going to go into this table view, and notice here we can also preview this data table in here. So we're seeing these same prices here. And now if we go into this model view, now you can see these two different data sources. We won't do this in this tutorial, but you can link these different columns and different data tables together. So we're going to go back here to this weekend. I'm going to create a new column here by right-clicking here. I'm going to create a column that allows me to match this up with my day type column in my auto sales table. I'm going to give this the same variable name, day type. I'm just going to say equals if this sales prices weekend column is a 0, then I'm going to call this a weekday, and if it's not a 0, it would be a 1, and I'm going to call this a weekend. All right, so I want the data in this column to match up to the same inputs in my other data table. So when I go to auto sales, this day type also has weekday or weekend. Okay, so now what we're going to do, what I want to do is I want to calculate the total revenue for selling cars, for selling trucks, vans, SUVs. I want to match this up with the appropriate revenue stream, and I want to look up if this is a weekend or a weekday so that I'm applying the appropriate price. So in my auto sales table, I'm going to create another column here, and I'm going to call this first column car revenue. So what I want to do here is I want to take the total number of cars from this auto sale, so the total number of cars sold in that day, and I want to match this up with the appropriate price in my other table. So I'm going to take this total number of cars, and really what I want to do is just match it up with the appropriate price, but I have to grab that price from the other table, and I also have to look that up first. So here I'm going to go to use this formula lookup value, and I want to look up something from my other data table. So I want to look up the sales prices for a car, and specifically this gives me the next thing this is asking for is the search column name. So the search column name is what I'm searching for in this sales prices. So I want to search based on whether this is, so I want to search on day type in my sales prices column. Now what I'm looking up, I want to look up in my auto sales table, I want to look it up by day type. So basically what this will do is it will say, look at what type of day it is on this particular day. So if we're looking at Monday, January 1st, that's a weekday. It's going to say it's a weekday, so find me the weekday price for cars on that day. And then this whole thing is going to give me that price, and that's going to multiply that by my total auto sales to give me the total amount of revenue that I make for selling cars. So now we're combining two tables here by looking up data from each of these tables and combining it and adding it. So on this particular day, on January 1st, I make $240,000 in revenue because I've sold 8 cars, and each of those cars has the weekday price of $30,000. So I'm going to replicate this. I'm just going to copy this. I want to do this for all vehicle types. So I'll try to do this a little bit more quickly. I'm just going to go new column. And here I'm just going to do this for trucks. So I'm going to change car revenue to truck revenue. And instead of cars here, trucks. And instead of cars here, trucks as well. Okay, so this gives me the revenue for trucks based on weekend or weekday. So I'm going to skip forward here, but I'll do the other vehicle types as well. All right, so I've taken the time to add in the revenue, the same, just copying and pasting that formula, but replacing the vehicle type in each case. So now we have car revenue, truck revenue, SUV revenue, and van revenue. But this is a pretty important skill, being able to combine data from two different tables. And right now we're using this lookup value function where we can pull the number of auto sales from our auto sales table, but then look up the type by look up the price by whether it's a weekday or a weekend and what vehicle type, and that allows us to populate these other columns. So I'm going to do just one more auto sales. I'm going to be So I'm going to create this other column just called total revenue, and I just want that to equal auto sales car revenue plus auto sales SUV revenue, truck revenue, and then finally van revenue. Okay, so we've now created all these extra columns. So you can see we still have these pretty bare bones CSV files that are the source of all this, but we're able to build out these calculated columns and make this a pretty robust data set. So now that we've got this revenue data, I'm going to come back to my dashboard. I don't find the scatter plot to be quite as useful since we created this bar chart that gives us really simply what are our average sales on the weekend versus weekday. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. I'm going to replace it with this stacked bar chart, so doing these horizontal bars. And now I want to look at the revenue for all my different vehicle types. So I will start with car revenue, and I will add in SUV revenue, then truck revenue, and then van revenue. And we also want to add in dates here. All right, so now this is telling me how much revenue I'm making by type. And I can drill down. If I go here and do turn on drill downs, I can drill down and I can start looking at by month or by quarter how much I'm making. So now this is giving me a good picture on revenue by quarter. And this is the sum. So in the quarter one, my total revenue, and I actually don't have total revenue. So what I would want to do is go in here and add a legend. I'm going to go to this total labels and turn that on, so that tells me how much I'm making by quarter. So in quarter one, 60.71 million in total revenue. I can sort that. So if I highlight just the weekend data, this tells me how much I'm making on the weekend versus the weekday. So what's highlighted is the weekend and what's not highlighted is the weekday. So just really cool, really nice visualizations. The takeaway for today is that often you'll be dealing with multiple data sources where you might have a certain database or a CSV file covering one aspect of your data, but then you'd have other data sources. And when those are relate to each other, you can pull, using this lookup function, you can pull information like auto sales and combine that with the price per vehicle, and that can give you something like total revenue.